So I want to go back to your gaming days for this reason. We had a guest on the show last show. We had the great conversation about how video games can teach you a lot about life, and we actually talked about the grind of specifically MMORPGs, right? And there are things you learn, and we didn't mention that to you. It had nothing to do with that, and you brought it up. And I just think this is fascinating, Mike, that in literally two shows in a row, this
Hmm.
has come up. And I think there's something here because listen, MMOs and gaming in general get such a bad rap by a lot of the older generation, right? And by the way, Mike and I are part of that generation, right? But we
Right.
happen to be gamers. And it's like you said it, one of the first you said gaming taught you to grind. And if we're going to talk about a success principle, the ability to stay consistent and work even when it's hard or it's not necessarily like pretty or fun, you know what I mean? The, grinding in these games, whether it be for skins, achievements, or you're talking about, grinding for gold or things to gamble with, it's still a grind. You have to get in there, you got to do the dailies, you got to do all these things that you are just required to accumulate digital stuff, right? And it's not necessarily pretty, but it's interesting because the mentality it gives is absolutely a success principle if you want to be successful in business or really anything, right? If you get a job someplace, you're going to have to do some of the unpretty things, but if you do it consistently and you do it well, people will notice, right? And it sets you apart from everybody else, right? You also but more fascinating than that was to me was you said it was teaching you essentially economics, trade,
It
Yes.
was. It
sales,
Yes.
was.
right? And
Because
here's what's crazy because if you've had, I think you mentioned that you've had businesses, and so if you know what it's like to hire and fire and things like that, it's amazing how difficult it is to find people with real skills. And I don't mean things that look good on your resume, and I don't mean you know how to type a resume or you know how to format things. Listen, if you put that Microsoft Word on your resume, it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know here's can you speak another language? Do you know how to sell? Do you know how to work with people? Can you set people at ease? You know what I mean? Are you friendly? These are like the customer service type things that people don't tend to get. And economics, I just think it's a crazy that you're playing video games and you're learning how economics works within essentially a complete digital landscape, but yet that applies to a real world application.
Right.
And it's very, very interesting to me. And I'll say this last part because my friends are in town and their kids are younger than 5, right? And what's amazing to them is there are apps now that kids are playing, and they're games, like they're just like puzzle games that the kids play. And something startled them because all of a sudden their one son read a sign to them, and they never taught him how to read. And they were like, "Wait, when did you learn how to read?" And he just picked it up playing these games
Yeah.
that are designed for kids. And it's like my mind is blown by this because all the way back from a young age of somebody learning how to read, and then an older gamer learning economics, salesmanship, how these principles work, free enterprise. These are like real classes people study in college, and you just picked it up playing a
yeah,
game. And that's fascinating to me because I just think it's wildly underrated how many life skills you can learn by gaming. And I'm sure there's other things, but man, I just think that that's understated. I just think it's really cool you learned it there. I'd love to hear any insight you have on that, or maybe other things you picked up or learned and have been able to apply in the future
yeah. So it was
or
actually
in the
very
now.
interesting. So that I learned early, like in middle school, and before then, RuneScape, if anybody's played, knew that like free trade was still
Hmm.
like a thing before they removed free trade, and you would be able to
Yeah.
trade people, as you please. You would there used to be a specific world where people traded, I guess, kind of like a bazaar, like a market,
Yeah.
and a specific area, and you would see somebody selling arrows for 13 gold, but then you see somebody buying arrows for 15 gold, maybe like
Yeah.
10 steps away, and they don't see the guy selling it. You run and you
Yep.
buy them really quick, and then you make a quick flip.
Yeah.
And it was like
Yep.
those things, or like you
Yep.
go on the forums and you post buying bulk of like a specific rune, and then you buy up a bunch, and then you're standing there in the square and selling them, and it's just like things like that. And then they introduced something called the Grand Exchange, which was very interesting.
Right.
It's like a stock market in a sense, but like an outpost where you could trade items. Except now there's analytics and it's more regulated. The thing is, prices would only move by either 5% up or 5% down at any single given, like every 12-hour period of time. So people learned that, okay, well, let me form a clan and market manipulate by
Yes.
buying
Yep.
up all these items
Yep.
to go. And you're like 13 years old. And like,
Yes.
you're learning this, and it's insane.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. And it's like, but it, not only economics, and it's funny enough because there were so many other things, and I can't even mention. It's like you learn varieties of fish, you learn like varieties of trees, and it's like
Yeah,
you would think these are like
dude.
useless things to know, but like sometimes they come up in real life situations, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
glad I learned this.
Yeah. And that,
For
dude,
sure.
you missed one of the most important skill sets. And I mean, I know you realize this, but dude, communication, making friends, dude, like the cornerstones of being networking is literally one of the core principles of being successful in this life. And that's what you're doing.
I joined a clan actually,
Clans.
like a PKing clan.
Yeah.
Where you just fight other clans and just do that.
Uh-huh.
And I think I was 15 at the time, and there were, I would say, like 50 people in that clan, and people ranging from age 13 to age 50.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, within 2 months' time, I was the general in that clan.
And you learn some life lessons from that,
And
man.
you learn life lessons. You learn how to keep peace. You learn how to, like you said, communication. Communication is one of the more important things. And you learn balance. You know, if there's like people arguing,
I like that.
Ground, the works, man. It just MMOs for me. I feel like RuneScape did teach me a lot of lessons, and for that I'm grateful. Although I did lose a lot of time, where it's like maybe if I played a little less, I could have done other things.
Yeah.
Growing up, but I still played basketball. I played football. I played soccer.
Sure.
Like I played every sport. It's just I feel like as I got a little older in my teens, the sports kind of dwindled down. And video games kind of took majority of that time.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I would push back with this. I mean, Mike and I had a pretty good university experience, but let's just take the average person going to the average university who turns 18, really doesn't know what they want to do, but somebody's telling them declare a major, like you're supposed to know what you're going to do with the rest of your life, right? And they go there and they just kind of like fumble their way through college. They get a degree, maybe it's in, a liberal arts degree or history or something, something that was like at least they could pass, but they still don't really know what they want to do. But yet they have school debt now. They have loans they have to pay off. And I would say, like maybe you lost some time, but not as much time as the average person that blows 4 years on a degree that they're never going to use with skill sets that that are really not going to help them moving forward. You know what I mean? I mean, again, just like we said, the ability to be uncomfortable, the ability to sell, the ability to work with people, like those three things, that's how you become a multimillionaire, a billionaire. You know what I mean? And people can say what they want, but why is it that every major billionaire out there doesn't have a college degree? Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking college. I loved college. It was an awesome time. It was an awesome time. And there's certain things you have to have it for, right? You're going to be an attorney. You're going to be an engineer. You're going to be a doctor. Absolutely. But if you're just kind of wandering through life and you really don't know, I think there is a case that there are other things that could teach you more valuable skills in terms of how to be successful. That's all I'm saying. And it is interesting to me because if you would have told me 3 months ago video games could have been one of those things, I'm not sure I would have believed it. But it's very interesting how back to back to back, I'm starting to hear more people who are successful entrepreneurs who learned, and I'm not saying they learned everything there, but they started their journey in games, and they learn these skills there. And it's just fascinating to me because you're not going to learn it in school, right?
Yeah.
Who's teaching sales? Nobody. Who's teaching people skills? Nobody. So
Right.
it's just interesting.
Yeah, and I would add to that, dude. But you said it, Anthony. Like looking back and saying, "Oh, I play too much video games." You played sports and you did stuff, because all of this being said, no matter what you're doing, balance is also a huge key, right?
Very
so
true.
if you can balance what you're doing, even if you're playing video games 8 hours a day, if you have balance with getting in shape, eating healthy, still having friends and family outside of your gaming world, you're still doing great things.
Well, I'll add to that actually. I feel like the best friends I've ever made, I've made online first.
Yeah.
And those are the friends
Well
that
said.
stayed true friends for the longest, for me personally.
Yeah.
And supposedly close friends that I've had over the years from school and everything, those relationships died out. Majority
Sure.
of them. There's very few left.
Yeah.
As for friends that I've made online, I've known people that I still talk to on a daily basis for over a decade
Yeah.
that I met online. Like eventually, like as we got older, we're like, yo, we've never met in real life. Yo, I'm gonna fly out to Atlanta. Let's link up.
Yeah. And
But
why do
It's
you
amazing.
think that is? Why do you think that is?
Took the words right out of my mouth, Mike.
Why? I feel like you develop a better bond with these people. And it's because your bond only gets stronger as you, I guess, meet in person and do things together. But these people, you've never actually met them in real life, and you're able to already form a strong bond. I think when you meet in person, the bond just gets stronger.